Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Yes. You have just stepped out into the world of chaos. Where everybody goes hard. Come on. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Or go home. Never back down. You gotta hold your own. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. East Coast. Go hard. West Coast. Go hard. Midwest. Go hard. Dirty. Happy up, everybody. Get online, buy your tickets, cause the game about to start. Welcome to Basketball Heads Live. I am your host, Glenn Poole Harding. And oh boy, tonight we have a very special guest. This basketball head is an Andrew Jackson High School great, along with Bobby Cousy, Vernon Moore, Boo Harvey, Ron Edwards, Doug Harris, rest in peace, Dave Edwards, Steve Frazier, and Ted and Trevor Part-1 made up some of the best players in New York City history. They blazed the trail for high school in Queens. When we talked about Andrew Jackson, we talked about the legendary Mr. Chuck Granby. May he rest in peace. And he was actually my Empire State coach, so love you, coach.
Definitely.
This basketball head was nominated as a McDonald's All-American and was a legendary player in the O'Connell Park, better known as O.C.P. After college, he became an NJCAA All-American at West Coast Community College. Westchester, right?
Yeah, West
Okay.
Coast.
We want to get that right. That's right. He was one of the players that could score in bunches. And according to everyone who I spoke to, they all agree he was a handful to deal with on the court. After basketball, he became a business owner and also a brand marketer. And now, my guy is selling houses, real estate. Go check him if you need him. Tell y'all who that guest is soon. Listen, if you want to follow my guy, you want to hit him up on ONQP, his page on Instagram, and you can hear his commentary on social events and world affairs. Check him out. So without further ado, help me welcome to the show my guy, and for sure my homie, because we got so much in common. We just found out we got so much in common. Andrew Jackson great, Westchester Community College, and O.C.P. legend, Paul QP Ruddock.
What's up, man?
What's happening, brother? What's happening, man?
Everything is good. Thank you for having me.
Listen, you know I had to get that intro right, man. I work real hard on these intros.
I see that.
And people like, why you be looking down? Because I can't remember all this. I'm going to keep it 100 with y'all. But as long as y'all get and y'all hear what's going on, we all good, man. So listen, like I was telling people early on, right? Me and my guy, we've been conversing online a lot. First time we met each other in person was today. But what we found out, we have so much in common. So many people that he know and I know, same people. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into the Diggs family, which means a lot to me and to him, right? So when we talk about New York City basketball, we talking about this connection and this brotherhood and sisterhood, you know, for all the women out there that play. But for us, this brotherhood that continues forever. And even though New York City has 10 million people plus in it, for some reason, when you play ball, it just seems so small. So, what's up, my brother, man?
Everything is good, man. Thank you for having me. Like I said, man, I appreciate the time and been watching your show, which you know already.
Yeah. Nah, listen, bro. Like I said, we've been doing it for 2 years now, and to get around and to balance it, right? We want to make sure we get the people in Brooklyn, and then make sure we get all the Queens, because Queens got, not only they get the money, they got ball players too, right? So we talking about Manhattan. Man, Manhattan is different from Harlem, so let's get that straight.
True.
All right, and then we gotta go up to the Bronx. Then I gotta go upstate, and then Long Island. We can't forget, man. So we here. So I want to jump right into this, man. Before we get into some of the more deep things, I just want to go and jump off to the first question. Who introduced you to the game?
That's a great question. Wow, starting it off. I think I might have told the story one time before, but it was a female, young lady, probably around 5, 6 years old in the park. Back when I was growing up, I'm originally from the Bronx, and when I was growing up, the kids was only allowed to play ball on the monkey bars, because on the court we only had 2 courts at that time, and the older dudes, they wasn't letting us get on the court. I was a kid then, but during the day there used to be a young lady that used to come to the park. Jerry curls back then too, early 80s. And I used to be so fascinated in watching them playing and watching a female really do what guys was doing. I'm like, I mean, watch. Every time she come to the park, I would watch her. And then one day, I asked her to shoot the ball, and she, I was horrible at the time. And she's like, yo, I see you sitting here a lot in the sun, because we ain't had no shade in that park. And I said, yeah, I come sometime to watch you. And she's like, oh, yeah? She's like, you know what, come on the court and shoot. And like I said, I wasn't that good at the time. But she said, after seeing me, I was trying, she said, you know what, if you come here every day at this time, I'll show you a little bit.
Wow.
And I did that for like a whole summer. You know what I mean? Off and on, comes in park. And eventually, that passion sparked. You know what I mean? And here we are.
Wow. What part of Queens you from?
I'm originally from 193rd Street, between 193rd and 194th Street off of Murdock Avenue. So they was called that the north side of Queens.
Got you.
Murdock Avenue. That's where we originally landed when I moved from the Bronx.
Oh, so you came from the BX down to Queens.
Yep.
Okay.
Moved from the Bronx to Queens. Yep.
What was life growing up for you when you came to Queens, and what was how was it different from the Bronx?
Well, first things first. You had houses.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
I think it's a big culture shock coming from apartment buildings and sharing rooms with your sisters and brothers to I got a room. You know what I mean? There's more than one room in this house that we could chill in and sit down and hang out. I'm from the Caribbean, so my mom is a neat freak, so you wasn't allowed to like go in her living room and stuff like that. And the dining room when you eating, that's about it. So moving to Queens was like, we made it. You know what I mean? We made it.
Moving on up like the Jefferson.
Yeah, we made it. So, you know what I mean? That was like in itself, like I felt like we was rich. Truthfully. Definitely felt like that.
Where did the name QP come from?
It's a lot of different stories about it, but it originally started. My grandmother named me Quincy. Right? That's my nickname. I was 2 pounds, 3 ounces when I was born. Wasn't supposed to live through the night, quote unquote.
Wow.
I made it through the night. There's an African warrior named Quincy, and she gave me the nickname. But then, when I started public school, kindergarten, a teacher asked me my name, so I said Paul. Well, my nickname is Quincy. And she's like, what do you mean, Paul, Quincy? Which one? I said, Paul, but my nickname is Quincy. She said, you know what? We're just going to call you Quincy Paul. So it started from Quincy Paul. And then people got tired of saying that, so they'll say QP. So it just evolved. It just continued to evolve.
You know how the neighborhood, though, we going to shorten it up, right? We go from neighborhood to hood, right?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So, yes, I get that. Man, so at what age would you say you started to take the game serious and things started to kick in when you was going to the park and battling for that space, to get picked, in those full courts?
The love grew when I got to Queens because, there were more community-based scenarios where you could probably walk to.
Okay.
Without having the dangers that we probably had in the Bronx. You know what I mean? Growing up, I definitely appreciated that part of it. The local PAL wasn't far away. The high schools had night centers. Jackson had his own night center. The park was right on the corner from the O.C.P's, around the corner. So I was in walking distance of all those things. So you got to say around 10, 11. You know what I mean? I started to really like it a lot more. I even put up which I see Squeak here tuning in, a crate in my backyard. So on my garage door, above my garage door was a crate that we put up. And we shot ball on the crate. And outside on the pole, we put a crate up. Down the block, a friend of mine, Johnny Mack, which taught me how to shoot a jump shot officially, which also went to Jackson.
Right.
He's the one that actually showed me how to really try to perfect the jump shot on a crate. So around 10, 11, about 10, 11.
Right. So I want to jump right into this because your guy, Squeak, he said he's going to have a problem with you if you don't mention him.
Well,
so I want to just bring that up right now. You know what I'm saying?
Big Guy Wells. Big Guy. That's his nickname for me. I met Squeak, Jamel Jackson, the great Jamel Jackson. People don't even know that. When I met Squeak, he was about a 6'3", 6'4" guy then, as a kid. And big kid, actually. I met him throwing a football.
So you play football too?
I played football. We played all sports growing up.
That's what I'm saying. You feeling my vibe? Yeah. I play quarterback, so I'm loving this right now, fam. Yes.
I met Squeak playing football. He was walking through my neighborhood with a football, and we started throwing it to each other. And ironically, he'll come by every day. We throw the football, and then he'll come play basketball, whatever. And eventually, I remember when I started junior high school, kids that, I was pretty short probably at that time. And the kids were like, "Where you know this big guy from?" I said, "That's my bodyguard." Word. But the great Jamel Jackson, people don't know, and I got to give him his flowers. You got to give people their flowers, was an all-city football tight end.
Wow.
People don't know that. Like, catch the ball, run, everything. He was athletic. Played basketball, did the same things. I think probably was overall probably could have been a pro football player.
Wow.
Definitely could have been a pro football player. The way I looked at it and remember when we was in high school. So shout out to my man Squeaky Jamel Jackson.
Salute, Squeak. Facts. And he's always on the check-in, so I definitely want to show him love, man.
For sure.
I started out playing baseball. Then my guy Vernon Kids got hit in the eye with a pitch, and when he quit, I quit. Right? And
trauma.
Oh, just threw me off. I was like, I do not want to get hit with that ball. And then I moved on to football, and there's a whole story behind that whole football story. But when I played football, became really good at it, and that's why I went to Lincoln. I went to Lincoln to play football.
Right, because they always had a great football player, always.
Yes.
Shout out to Frankie Sinclair, too. I remember Frankie Sinclair.
Oh, he was a beast. He was a beast.
I went to school with him in college. Actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Salute, Frankie Sinclair. One of Lincoln's greats.
Yeah.
So I went out for the basketball team because the guys who I rode the train with, I live across town. So the guys who I rode the train with was like, "Yo, we going out for the team." I'm like, "Yo, fam, they number one in the state. Like, we're not going to make the team."
Right.
They got cut, I make it.
Wow.
And there was no JVs back then. Straight varsity. As a freshman.
If you was a dog, you was a dog.
Look, me and my coach talk about this all the time. Like, I knew I had something special, I guess, going into, once I joined the team. I didn't think I had the skills back then. Maybe my confidence wasn't there, right? So, and I'm going to keep it 100. He saw something in me because him and my assistant coach got into a beef because he picked me. Now, that year,
over other people.
Facts.
Got it.
They picked 3 freshmen. That's the only guys who made the team that year. One was Josie Watkins. He was the best player on Coney Island. I give him his props. He was the best player on Coney Island and 9th grader. Then Dave had a banjo. Josie wound up going to the Army, but Dave, he went to play at LIU. But Dave went to my coach junior high school. So all of them kind of had ends. Josie had the whole team backing them. My guy Dave had my coach, knew my coach, and he picked me. And then the next year I grew to 6'4". I started at 5'8", then I grew to 6'4" that summer, and then it was a wrap after that.
What a blessing. What a blessing.
I said, Coach, you was a genie. You knew it was going to happen. So it was a wrap. We'll tell that.
6'4", from 5'8" to 6'4". Wow.
Oh, yeah. The next year I was 6'5", and then became 6'6".
I was praying for those growth spurts. Praying.
So when you was coming up, who was the best player, right? Who was the best player in the neighborhood for you, and like who did guys look up to and want to be like?
Wow. Well, all right. So let me say it like this.
Okay.
Because there's a lot. I guess as you get older, there's phases to who you might in the neighborhood idolize. Like, yo, he tough. You know what I mean? One of the first people I gotta think. One of the first people I probably thought was like nice. Whew. Gotta say, my fascination as a youth was David Edwards. David Edwards and Kenny Anderson, I thought were elite. Like,
thought they were elite.
Well, yeah, but you gotta understand, like, I think in junior high schools, like I said, my passion kicked in. So seeing these guys on the news and reading about them in the newspaper made me read the newspaper.
Right.
So my sister's boyfriend used to talk about Dave a lot, and he was a soccer guy. And he'd be like, yo, but there's a guy named Dave Edwards that at the school that's the deal. And I'm like, let me see who this guy is. But I read about him all the time. I never told him that because I needed him to take me to the game because my mama wouldn't let me go to Jackson at that time of night. So I said, I'm going to go watch this game. He took me to the game, Friday night game, and it's packed, wall to wall to capacity. And I'm standing on top of the bleachers. And here this little 5'10" dynamos dribbling the ball and doing crazy, crowd going crazy. And I'm like, I want to be like him. It was David Edwards.
Wow.
And the only person that was probably in his class, which I grew to idolize probably even more than Dave, was Kenny, and they were in the same class. So those were the first two guys that I had to say, like, I really tried to read about every day, or anytime I got a chance to go see them play. If they played at Citywide, we would sit out there all day to watch them play because, biddies, midgets, or was it biddies, midgets, juniors, seniors? So we had to wait through all these games to get to see these guys. And listen, man, those two were probably the first two that I could say I actually, on a high school level, idolized. On a pro level, I would say my idol would have been Isaiah Thomas at that time.
Yeah, but Isaiah not from the neighborhood. So.
Right.
But I definitely get what you said, man.
Listen, David was electrifying. And then, bigger than that, not to even cut it short, is like, I hear this man screaming Dave's name all day, and it's Chuck Granby. So, you know, the history is what it is, you know.
That's right. That's right. So when you went to O.C.P., did you guys had to prove yourself to get on the court? What was the competition like in the park, like for you to kind of make your name and get known there?
All right, first I'm going to say this, and this is where people have the misunderstanding about going to the park. O.C.P., when we was growing up, was like Broadway, Hollywood of basketball, because in the summer, all the pros came and played in the park.
Right.
So at our age, we weren't even allowed to go in the cage where they played at. We stood outside the gate and watched the game. Anybody could tell you differently, they're lying. If you wasn't somebody, you didn't step in that cage. You went on the far court outside in the sun and played, the long court. Right? That's where we played at. Now, if they in there playing, there's no way you're getting even touch a basketball, so you might as well stand outside and do the oohs and the ahs. And as you gradually watch, I used to go and mimic what I saw. Guys like Sweet Pea coming to park, Mark Jackson, Shelton Jones, Michael Porter, Boo Harvey, Pro. I'm talking about you name it. Like sometimes I used to sit in the park like I seen him on TV yesterday or a couple days ago, and they in the park now, summertime, and they hooping. So I mean, the run was and packed like unbelievable. There's times when I sat outside and said, I'm gonna go try that move when I get back home. So you know, it was a lot of study sessions, but watching those guys stirred that pot. You know what I mean? Created that passion. So as I was growing up, I was never probably as good as a lot of the guys when we was growing up. Probably in junior high school is when I started to peak a little bit. And then probably my senior year of junior high school, I started to get some recognition. You know what I mean? But I had to work. You know what I mean? So I can tell you that. I had to work.
Yeah, man. What was that first game like under the whistle? Like, do you remember that very first game you played under the whistle?
In any level?
That first game. Like, what was that first game like? You know, you just
petrified.
Got your uniform, you playing with the referee, you learning your calls, right?
Petrified.
Yes.
No matter, I remember whatever the coach told us, it didn't register when we was playing the game. It was going so fast.
Right,
you know what I mean? Running around and turn the ball over, not listening, getting sat down. Hold on, didn't I just tell you this? But it was that you needed to breathe. You needed to, because you got the skill, but now it's real. Practice is one thing, but when you get in the game, it's real. So I was petrified. I remember that. I remember that very vividly. Petrified and embarrassed after the game because we got our butts kicked. You know what I mean? I was embarrassed. I remember that.
Listen, 99% of the guys and girls, when I ask that question, say the same thing.
Petrified.
You know, because it's that first game. It's that moment where you're realizing you got to take all the things you learn in practice and apply it in the game. And then the referees is calling, and then you got people checking you. It's a lot going on for that very first time. So I definitely understand.
And your friends is looking like, what's going on?
That's right. That's right. That's right. Wow. So once you got to, you know, that level in junior high school where you felt like, you know, I got a grip on the game a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. To know which high school I'm gonna go to.
Okay.
You had your pick of the schools. You have Edison, you got Hillcrest, Cardoza, August Martin. Why Jackson?
Ironically, I was gonna go to Malloy. Ironically, I was gonna go to Malloy.
Which I forgot to mention Malloy. I'm naming all these PSAL schools. I forgot about, you know, the Malloys, right?
Jack Current was a person that was influencing me to go to Malloy. My friend Troy used to go to Malloy. He actually was the team manager when Kenny and them was there. Steve Frazier, Jason Gilliam, Jeremy Livingston. So
hold on. Steve Frazier was at Malloy first?
Yeah.
I think Jason told me that. I think Jason told me that.
He played with Jason in the backcourt.
Yes. I think Jason told me that. Yes.
They had a prize backcourt actually. They were right under Kenny. They was the next up. Oof. And I was supposed to go there. Now mind you, don't get me wrong. Coach Granby knew of me. I actually met Coach Turner first.
Okay.
And Turner introduced me to Granby. And, you know, we hit it off right away because coach is a player's coach. You know what I mean? He tell you straight what it is. If you're nice, he gonna let you know. If you're not, he gonna let you know. And truthfully, I wanted to go to Malloy. I'm not gonna lie to you. And my mom said she wasn't gonna spend no money for me to go to no high school. So if you didn't get a full scholarship, she wasn't paying. Now, when it came down to it, Mr. Curran said, all right, we could pay this much, but your mom's got to come with a couple $100. And my mom was like, no, she ain't doing nothing. I got 4 other boys in here to deal with. So the pick of the litter, I was the first boy of my mother's sons. I'm the oldest. So I ended up, I went to 192, and my transcript was sent to Hillcrest High School. So I went to Hillcrest High School first for 6 months. I didn't play because I was transferring to Jackson. And I was actually knowing at that point that I was going over there and that ship was mine. And I ain't gonna lie to you, Coach Granby told me, said, you come in, got the ball 4 years in your hand.
Wow.
Rest is history.
So that's why Squeak was like, you better mention me. That was my point guard.
Listen, he got the ball a lot from me. Did he tell you that? Shoot. All these guys talk about I shot the ball. I actually passed a lot my first 2-3 years. It was my last year. At the end of my junior year is when the light clicked on for real, for real. Like I was averaging I only played 3 years of high school basketball. I played my sophomore year, junior year, and senior year. So my last year, at the end of my junior year, it clicked. Everything came together, physical, mental, the strength, you know what I mean? And then understanding the game, because, you know, as your experience level goes up, the game slows down.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes, facts.
So you start to see the game differently. And then you realize who you're playing against. You're like, hey, none of these dudes better than me.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? There was a couple guys in my class, I ain't gonna lie, but I definitely was one of the top tier, you know what I mean, players at that time. So I would have to say that Jackson was it all the way.
Listen, Jackson is one of the names I remember as a youngster being in the paper all the time. You heard about those names, the Ron Edwards, Doug Harris, Boo Harvey, consistently. I didn't hear about any other schools, and it's no disrespect to anybody else, right? So I'm gonna mention this and may cause a little controversy, but I put up a top 10 coaches.
Okay.
Right? I think you probably remember that. Right? I remember that. You remember that, right?
Yeah,
so
I remember something.
It's caused a lot of controversy. And I was sitting there and I was saying to myself, do I put up Coach Granby, who I respect a lot, and who coached me in the Empire State games? Now, thinking about it, if I would have put it up today, his name would have been on that list. But in the beginning, I didn't want to cause too much controversy, even though I still wound up causing controversy because everybody was like, why don't you have Niclario's name on that list? Because he's the winningest coach in PSAL.
Yes, he is.
And I said, hold on. When I was coming up,
correct,
there was no such thing as Cardoza. They was there.
But it wasn't that, but they are now, or at that point.
They weren't in the picture.
Right.
So I said, let me stay out of this controversy, right? And put these coaches up. And I had to put them up for different reasons. And I had Jack Curran from Queens. I had to go to different boroughs. I made sure I went to different boroughs and make it fair, have PSL coaches and Catholic school coaches. And of course, you know, number one coach is my coach. So that I was like, I could get away with that. But it's no disrespect to anyone.
I made a comment. I think I made a comment today. I did, right?
So, but it wasn't disrespect. It was just you just again voice your opinion like everybody else.
Yeah.
Now, I know that Mr. Granby coached for 47 years.
Yes, he did.
Right? He was coaching before my coach was coaching. My coach started in 80, and I think Niclario started in 81. So that happened. Now, I don't disagree with the numbers because again,
it is what it is.
It is what it is, right? But I knew if I did put up Mr. Granby and then put up Niclario, people would say it's a race thing, and I was hating.
Got it.
You get what I'm saying?
I got it. Politically, yes, I got it.
But knowing who I am and the things that I stand on, I should have just still did what I wanted to do because it still caused controversy. Because no matter what you do and what you say, people still gonna have a problem with it. So I just figure I just speak my mind and say what I say and then deal with the repercussions later, because people will look at my past posts and what I've done to show love to people.
Right.
Because I never hate on anyone. So, and speaking on that, When you was coming up, how was Cardozo back then when you was coming up?
Cardozo was good. At that time, when I got to high school, I could have went to Cardozo. I knew McLaren since junior high school. Actually was supposed to go to Cardozo. At the time, Rafa was going there. I was gonna go there. My friend Dwayne Woodward went there. They were at one point in my last year in our division. The first 3 years they weren't. So Cardozo was in our class, definitely. They had ball players at that time. He was actually, Clario at that time probably was getting a better pick of the litter when it came to the kids, because at that time, maybe, I'm not sure about now, but at that time, Cardozo was probably a better academic school.
But I heard they had an assistant coach from Southside that would get on the South Side.
Billy Medley.
Okay, let's because he don't get a lot of credit.
I'm glad you brought that up. Now, so Neclario's credit. Neclario's in the streets.
Oh, listen, I know about Neclario.
Right.
I played for Neclario and Hirsch coming up.
So, all right, so you know.
Trust me, I know.
Billy is Southside, so JYO, which we all played for growing up. So Billy is the conduit as well for a lot of the kids to go there.
And that's when I heard, that's when they started to be able to compete with Jackson, because Jackson had ran things so much, and it wasn't to, not say, again, this is not a knock to Neclario. We all need help in doing whatever we do.
No question.
Right? But I just think when we talk about the whole spectrum of things in Queens and who was running it, I'm just telling you my perspective when I was coming up.
You know,
right?
You know, you ain't saying nothing slick. You talking facts.
80s to like the 90s. Well, you know, I left New York in 86 to go to prep school, went to MCI. But in that range, it was just Jackson.
Well, let me just say this. Public school wise, no one I thought at that time was a better coach than Chuck Granby for a lot of reasons. And it had nothing to do with X's and O's all the time. I felt like, and this is just a fact, and anybody that went to that school will tell you, if the guys or you say the student body and the body of talent that was in that school actually went to class and was eligible, Jackson would win that PSL title every year. When I was there, ain't nobody could deny that. We had the talent in the school. Just guys, because of the nature of that school, guys were attracted to different things, the streets, you know what I mean? At that time, Andrew Jackson was probably the first school in Queens that had metal detectors. That's how serious a school it was.
And 50 got locked up because of that.
Yeah, I went to school with him. He was definitely in school when I was in school.
Oh, okay.
Without question, shout out to 50 Cent. Yeah, I don't think no one at that point, to me, in the Queens atmosphere of coaching, was a better coach than Chuck Granby. And like I said, I'm not just talking X's and O's. There's a reason why I'm saying what I'm saying. But when you walked into that gym and you saw the Hall of Fame and the jerseys up and you knew the legacy, that in itself was the energy that a lot of people couldn't compete with at other schools. You know what I mean? Just the truth. He already had a legacy going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? There was a great history of great guards. You know what I mean? And players, forget guards, just players. I'm right after Steve Frazier. Before it was Ted and Dave, both Teds and Dave, excuse me, and then it was Steve, and I was supposed to play with Steve. I transferred ineligible to Jackson my freshman year from Hillcrest. So I had to miss that whole freshman year, but I practiced with them every day. So right after that, I was ready to go my sophomore year. So ain't nobody could pump that kind of confidence in you like Coach Granby. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I already know. He was my coach on Empire State games, and even though we had a crazy team, it was just so much love, and he knew how to get us going, right? And look, and to Coach Neclario's credit, what he did for Cardozo and able to build Cardozo into one of the city's powerhouse, which still stands to this day. They're now, you know, one of the top teams in the city. So salute to Coach Neclario, man.
Well, let's be clear. Clario, what they say, numbers speak for themselves. Like,
Facts.
you know what I mean? There's no one can take that from him. He's a great coach. And he's on the ground level. He really gets out there and get it. So, you know, I got to give him his props and say, yeah. You know what I mean? Actually, at one point, him and Coach Granby were friends. I mean, people don't know that story. That they were very good friends before they became rivals. And not liking each other for a while. But from what I do know now, after talking to Clario and Coach Granby before he passed, God bless his soul, him and Clario actually made amends. So that was a good thing.
That's dope, man. Salute to Coach Clario and rest in peace to Coach Granby.
Yes, definitely.
Two great coaches,
Definitely.
man. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the other teams that gave y'all problems, right? We talking about Cardozo is one of them. Who was some of the other schools? And look, this is not to knock the Catholic schools, but the public schools, the Catholic schools didn't mix.
Right.
Unlike DC and unlike on Staten Island where they play each other, we don't get to play each other a lot.
Right.
So what other schools that y'all ran into that, you know, probably gave y'all a little bit problems?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think our biggest problem is outside the borough. To be honest, if in our division, we won the division all the time, so that wasn't the problem. Our division wasn't probably as stacked as other divisions because they switched it up so many times. It was Queens 1, 2, whatever. We won our division.
Gotcha.
That was never our problem. It's one probably if we went out of the borough or whatever. So we got. I think we'll play like Lockland in tournaments or. You know, I remember stuff like going to Long Island, playing Hempstead or Malvern, all them schools, Brooklyn schools, Manton Center. You know, so I think our biggest challenges was probably when we stepped out of our division and out of the borough. So to say we had trouble, I can't say that at that level.
Okay.
We didn't end up playing Cardozo until my senior year. I mean, because the first 2 years they weren't in our division. But let's say teams like I remember one year Newtown had a very good team. They had a very good team. They beat us actually in the gold and silver. I think I had like 37 points at the end of the third quarter, and I sprained my ankle, which still, that injury is a remnants right now in my life. But I sprained my ankle on a jump shot. You know how they got the rule now where someone steps in your landing space?
Yeah, but hold on, fam, hold on. Let's go back. Because you just flew past that like that's regular. Fam, you just said you had 37 3/4.
For sure.
That's not regular, fam.
For sure.
That's not regular. Let's keep it real. 37 3/4, man. Like, well, you was just on fire that day, fam.
Well, we was playing the St. John's, gold and silver. So you know the big court, big arena. You know what I mean? Like I said, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. Coach instilled that confidence in me. I think he enjoyed it more to watch you do your thing than to actually coach it. So he'll come to you, he'll say stuff like, "Son, keep doing what you're doing. Don't pass him the ball. Just do what you're doing." And then he'll come to you and say, "Now you know what time it is, right? Your time. They not ready." Like he would whisper in your ear certain things, let you know, like, don't waste your time doing certain stuff. I ain't gonna tell you. In my era, we didn't have the most talented teams.
Got you.
You know what I mean? Because guys wouldn't be eligible. We had the talent in the school, but they wouldn't be eligible. So a lot of times I felt like keying on me was important. And I had guys that could go at times, but then they'll be eligible for half a semester or whatever, stuff like that. But he enjoyed watching you put on the show, especially the guards. So, you know, it's like a coach that's saying, do you? And you got the skill to do it. I'm not stopping you. Go ahead.
That's right.
So, listen, man, he was... Man, I wouldn't change it for the world. I tell people to this day, like they say, you wish you would have went there. You wish you would have went there. Hindsight 2020, you know, there's guys that, you know, went further or probably played pros overseas. I wouldn't change Chuck Granby for nobody. You know what I mean? That was at one point, my father. You know what I mean? And I'm telling you in real time, that was my father. When my dad went to jail, he was my father. So him and Turner, you know what I mean, respectfully, God bless Turner too.
Yes.
Those guys kept me straight, kept me in school. I was an arrogant, Camarian kid that probably at times wasn't thinking straight, and he'll keep me in line. Basketball kept me in line, and that's why I say He's the greatest coach, and I'm not talking about X's and O's.
Got you.
Because that school was a very distracting school. But if you was in the loop and you understood him, he understood you, you're going to get where you had to go. So I got nothing but praise for Coach Granby. I mean, he saved my life. I mean, respectfully. I mean, where would I be if I didn't have a coach that cared about a black kid that wasn't always thinking straight? You know what I mean? Got to give him his credit.
That's real. Question outside of high school basketball, right? Mm-hmm. You know, being from Brooklyn, we know that in order for us to compete against a lot of dudes, we had to go to the other boroughs.
Facts. Big
right?
Facts.
I want to know from you, did you come to Brooklyn any to ball?
All the time. I'm glad you brought that up.
Please.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Let me know this, fam. Let me know.
All right, so I'm glad you brought that up because the misconception about Queens ball players is they soft or they ain't really tough. Like I told you, I'm originally from the Bronx.
Got you.
So I play with the Bronx Gauchos coming up, AAU-wise. You know, once you get to your peak, you're going to pick your powerhouse AAU team if you're that good or whatever. Right. But I played with the rinky-dink ones too, and we went everywhere. We play. Let's be clear. I'm going to say this, and nobody going to believe me. Me, Rayford Alston, Dwayne Woodward, and Todd Miles played on the team with a guy named Country. He called us and said, come to Soul in the Hole. Yeah, let's talk about it. And we played Charles and them. They was a house team. And we beat
Kenny Kings. That was the Kenny Kings. Yeah,
and we beat them.
Whoa. Was Booger on that team?
Boogs didn't play. Bam Moore did. I think Bam.
Salute to Bam
Moore. Nice. Well, we know Bam was nice.
Facts. Shit. I just hit him up and told him, started following
Javon Bam Moore.
Facts. Yeah. He's like, yo, I want to, I'm coming on the show because I was like, yo, fam, you got to come on the show.
Yes.
Because a lot of people who came on the show, all my Brooklyn guys like, yo, you got to get Bam on the show. Bam. And we going back from last year, man. So salute to Bam Moore, man.
Bam, you name it, though. They had a crew. They always got a crew. Sell, they had a crew.
Wow, Charles, Sell, Bam, and y'all beat them?
Listen, I'm going to tell you the real story, though. Went out there, and, all this hysteria and drama. Because it was drama.
Facts.
I remember this, and these guys will tell you, all the guards I named that's on my team left there bloody, scratched up, and at the end of the game, like I said, we played this guy in the country that imported us, really called us at the last minute, and we went out there, and did we take a cab? I don't even remember, 40 drove, we took a cab, whatever. Went out there and we beat them. And if you look around, if you remember, you're down.
Facts. You're down right in the hole. That's right.
You're looking up.
That's right.
And guys are screaming, they ain't leaving. And I'm like, at first, the park is packed to capacity. It's a Saturday.
Facts.
And I'm looking around like, yeah, all right, whatever. Because we've been in the trenches. If you ain't been to the top of the Bronx or the worst parts of Brooklyn or the worst parts of Harlem, you ain't really played basketball.
That's right.
So I'm looking around like getting dressed. Like I said, we bloody. I remember having a busted lip and a scratch in my face or whatever. Everybody was bleeding. I remember that. And the dude Country that we played for, which was Todd Miles' man, he's like, yo, man, we gonna have a little problem. So I'm like, what you mean? Like, yo, man, he's talking about we can't leave. Mind you, they blocked the entrances to the park. So I'm like, this nigga serious? He's like, yo, it's gonna be a problem. So, ironically, I don't even remember how the police had to come escort us out, and I'm not lying about that. They had to take us out the park, and they took us down a block, and I remember, I think we drove home. But I know for a fact we got escorted out the park. We were not allowed to leave. Now, mind you, these are guys that we played with our whole lives.
Right.
Charles.
Right.
Like, these are dudes we played with, like, whether it be in different scenarios, but the crowd was just in an uproar like, man, screw them dudes. And they were mad because Queens dudes came and won with some Brooklyn guys.
Right.
So it was a whole big mess. And Ray from them will tell you the story. We had to get escorted out the park.
Wow.
So when you talk about going places, that was one in particular where we beat the house team, which was, they didn't lose. If you know the story of the Kenny Kings, they didn't lose.
That's right.
We beat them. And that's a fact. Nobody can take that from us. We beat them. In Nate Park. Hello.
Wow, that's legendary right there, man. Look, I've heard it from everyone. It was like, yo, Pooh, come on, fam. You already know you win the game in Brooklyn, you're not leaving. Or the train station is not close to the parks. So
let's talk about one time we go to BRC.
Oh yes.
Gil, was it Gil Reynolds was playing with? I don't remember who
Salute
we played.
to the legendary Gil Reynolds.
Rest in peace, Coach Gil. And a kid named Keith Spencer was on our team.
Okay.
I don't know if you know Keith Spencer, but he went to Christ the King and then went on to do other things and play other places. But
okay,
we had a crew. Went out there. We walked from the train station. You know how far that train station is?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Went to the BRC, played, kicked their ass. And like I said, got to get out of here now. Getting dressed, and dudes is rumbling and whispering, yo, I ain't leaving here. So we got slick now. You know what I'm saying? We like, all right, back. There's a side door.
Facts.
We slick through the side door. When we get to the corner, they on the other end of the block. Chased us to the train station.
Whoa.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't think my feet touched the ground. It was so many of them. We skated. And I ain't gonna lie, anybody tell you I like to fight. I'm a fight. I like to fight.
Right.
But it was way too many of them, and they was not letting us leave. We did the slick shit. We slid through the side door. We was out. But it was so many. Yo, man, I don't remember if everybody got on that first train. But I know I did.
Right. Right.
We was out. We ran to, and that's a run.
Facts.
After a game, no beverage, straight, man. You talk about being in the trenches. Man, New York City.
Yeah.
I had guys pull guns on us after games because we beat them or wanted to. Man, people have no clue when they talk about like inner city basketball and names and recognitions and neighborhoods and reputations. It's unheard of the stuff you got to go through to live and be respected. Like in basketball, your reputation is everything.
Yes, but here's the deal. Once you solidified your rep,
yes,
right, you could kind of go into a different neighborhood and win, and guys will kind of respect you, right?
Well,
from my perspective,
you're right. But here's the problem. Like I said, Queens guys was always thought of as they nice, but they soft. So if you wasn't someone moving around, moving and shaking, or getting to these,
right.
Because when I grew up, you had to have these.
Fact.
Dudes had guns. Don't get me wrong, but you had to have these. You got to be able to punch somebody in their mouth. And on the court, you get in the fights all the time. And I remember one particular time, and I'm gonna tell you, this is real stories. Gaucho's round ball was the thing.
Yep.
And at the time, I know I was playing with the Gauchos. Was I playing with the Gauchos? I want to tell you I was playing the Gauchos. Rafer was playing with Riverside Church.
Mm-hmm.
Thurman was coaching. Now, Skip is out there doing this one, too, but Skip played with them when they called him or when he chose to play. So dudes on his team was mad that Skip was out there doing his number. Now, man, I had a bunch of Queens dudes that was with me. I remember that. And Rafer, during the game at halftime, I was like, yo, you leaving now? I was like, we about to leave. He's like, nah, don't leave yet because, I'm having a little issue with these dudes. You know what I mean? I don't know if I might have to get into it with one of them. I said, all right, then we going to wait. I'm going to let everybody know we waiting for you. So we waited, and, they thought Skip was by himself. But, when dudes started running their mouth after the game, they saw Queens dudes like, yo, nah, we here. Ain't nothing happened to Rafer then. We got on the train, we went home. But that's how they would do. Rafer's a loner like me. You see me by myself anyway.
Right.
Rafer's the same type of guy. He'll be somewhere by himself, but he wasn't alone that day. And guys used to try him because, you know what? Skip was, he used to do his 1-2 fizzle.
Skip used to play on Brevoort.
Yeah, exactly.
His aunt lived around my way.
Exactly.
And once I found that, I was like, dang, and Trey, all them like, yeah, he played in the midget league.
Right.
And he played in preteens.
Yep.
And all those different places. So you get to, kind of build up your name and your reputation. And of course, I'm from Brooklyn, so I know how things could be. you know, you lose a game and dudes are sore losers. They probably don't want to let you leave the park. And it's probably not the ball players. It's probably like the dudes on the outside.
Yeah.
Because you know what happened? Dudes is betting on the game.
For sure. Let me give you one better.
Right.
I'm going to give you one better. This is real talk. And anybody say I'm lying, you can call them. They're the real people, and they'll tell you. God bless my man Dogs of War. He passed on. He took us uptown to Rod Strickland's tournament in Mitchell.
Mitchell.
Rod had a tournament in Mitchell. And last minute thing, Billy Medley was the coach of Cardoza, JYO. And we went up there to play what we thought was a regular game. We was playing against Dave's All-Stars, which Dave Williams, I don't know if you know Dave Williams, but Dave Williams, when I met him coming up as a kid, because I played with Shamgar in the backcourt, he was from Harlem, and him and Mousy was running around back then.
Got you.
So,
Tri-State Mousy. Yeah.
Right. Before even all that Tri-State, this is way before all that. Mouse used to be at our games at Citywide when I played 125th Street. So that's how I met Mousy and him. But Dave had a team, which was really Manhattan Center, whole team.
Got you.
Richie Parker, Cameron Giles, Mason Betha.
Right.
And Donald Graham those are dudes that I grew up, playing with and against. And we go up there and we playing against them. Mind you, we thought it was a regular game. We only had 6 players. They had a whole team. Me, Stymie, Rafa, Shaheem, I believe, Boomer, and I'm talking about Shaheem Holloway.
Yep.
And I don't remember, I'm missing one person. But we go up there and we busting their ass. That's a fact. Up 8 maybe the whole game. Dog never told us that there was, matter of fact, I'm lying. There was money on the game. Big money. We ain't talking about a couple dollars. And that's how we made our break back then. Get a couple dollars, playing these games or whatever. And during the game, we laughing because we cooking. We doing them. And, Harlem, we in the heart of the Bronx. And Dave, which knew me as a kid, was like, yo, and I learned this later. I think one time Mace said something slick to me. Now, mind you, like I said, I know these guys. Man, shut up. I don't hear that shit. We busting your ass. We only got 6 players. 1 guy on our team getting foul trouble, so we got 5. And Dave tells them, and Dave Williams know what I'm talking about. Dave Williams tell them, yo, we got to get them, we got to get one of them out the game. Happened to be me. I was the hothead at some points. Mace picks up the ball. I don't remember what happened. Mace hit me in the face with the ball.
Disrespectful.
Never in basketball, right?
Right.
So, of course, I picked the basketball up.
This is not N1, son. This is not
No,
right.
I'm talking about dead ball, picked it up and just hit me with it.
Wow.
Like that, disrespectfully, but that was to get me out the game.
Got you.
So, I heard Dog screaming, no, Quincy, that's my nickname, no. Pick the ball up, boom, hits him back, and right behind that, a punch. I'm on their end of the court. So the whole bench get up, full-scale brawler, we fighting. Ref kicks me out the game and Mace out the game. Now, people don't know, Mace really played ball back then, so there's no lies with that. Before he was a rapper, he was a basketball player.
Super fact.
Right. Cameron, all that. Listen, real basketball players. So I get thrown out the game. We only had 5 to begin with. We was up 8. I get thrown out. We got 4. They let us play with 4. We lose the game. But I remember the dude, God bless his soul, Dog, like, Quincy, no. Because he knew I was going to fall for it. Turned around, boom. You know what I mean? So during the game, Mace is laughing, and I'm pissed like, because that's our money at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And Dave is laughing, and then they say, yo, Paul, I ain't going to lie to you. I had to do it to you. That's what you mean. I had to get you out the game.
Wow.
And they end up winning the game. And so when you say travel and basketball and reputation, what boroughs you played in? Every borough.
I hear that.
Every borough. High energy, all that. We played in everything. So don't let nobody, if you didn't have that type of heart to go play somewhere else, you really wasn't a ball player.
Well, fam, I'm gonna keep it real. Some of the nicest ball players that we know of who got names never left the borough, but we gonna move on from there. We gonna move on from there.
That's
and kids, let this be a lesson, right? If a coach knows that you're a ticking time bomb or somebody that can, easily get caught up in the emotion of the game, they would do just that. He didn't know somebody was plotting him. He was just defending himself,
right,
like you would do.
There was no way any basketball player was going, at that time at least, because this before social media.
Unless you was a sucker, it would have hit
the airwaves anyway, right?
Right. Just let somebody bust you in the face with the ball disrespectfully, and you just like, I'm gonna wait for him to get attacked.
Now, mind you, I done seen Mace at Ice 8, but when he was just about to be Mace, the rapper, I seen him at Ice 8. Now, mind you, I'm still mad at Mace at the time. So he said what's up to me. I ignored him. That's a real fact. Skip played, I think, somewhere, and we saw them at the Shark Bar with Coach Thurman and all that.
Yeah.
And he was like, this is a real fact. Ruddock, what's up? And I'm like, all I can remember when we was kids when he did that. And he's like, you still mad at me? I'm like, nah, I ain't mad at you, boy. And we sat down, had a good time. So shout out to Mace.
Nice.
But at that time, man, I was tight. We was 18, 19 years old. You know how it is, man. Ain't nobody trying to hear that.
That's right.
Throwing a basketball at me on the court. You total disrespect.
Man. So I want to march right into that senior year, right?
Mm-hmm.
You come into your own as a player. You figure it out. You killing, you getting 30s, 40s.
Right.
You had 35 I put up in the paper today against August Martin. Like, what was that feeling like? And especially when, that All-American McDonald's, nomination come in. What's going on in your mind and your future of basketball? What's happening at that moment?
All right, so like I said, after my junior years when it clicked, Coach was like, yo, there's a lot of people, calling about you, whatever. My shoe boxes was filling up.
All right, break that down for people that don't know, because I know what you're talking about, right?
Okay.
Because it can't be like, my shoebox is filling up with cash, because, you know what I mean?
Oh, my shoebox is filling up with letters.
There you go.
And we're talking about big schools. So, we're not talking about, back then, you had your Syracuse, your St. John's,
Facts.
You had your USC, whatever. And I was feeling myself. To be honest with you, I was moving around good in the city. My name was good. And when you finish your junior years, when you know if you can play wheelchair or not, they're only going to take the top 2 or 3 juniors, period, in the borough.
Yeah.
So if you make that team and you one of those top juniors, you on the next plateau, because only people that play in that game is seniors and a couple of juniors. So it was me. I think my junior year was me and 40 was the names picked. And I think, I'm not sure I meant to ask you. You related to Greg Harden?
No.
All right, so Greg Harden was the other one.
Yes.
Right. God bless your soul, Greg. That was my guy.
No doubt. Salute. Yeah.
So we played as juniors on the wheelchair team, which, you wait your turn, then your years, your senior year, whatever, we played. And then coming out, I had to go to summer school coming out of my junior year because, like I said, I transferred in eligible my freshman year. So I had to catch up. So I went to summer school, PM school, I was catching up. So I didn't go to camp my junior year till the last session of 5-star, which was the main session.
Right.
And I went down there, and I remember at one time, I think you only played 2 quarters. I had 50 points outside in 2 quarters. And that's when I really knew. I said, I'm a bad motherfucker. Respectfully, no disrespect, I mean to curse, but I had to say that in my mind because when I got back to, because people come to watch each other games, and I'm out here looking at dudes that's already parade All-Americans. I'm like, I gotta play with these dudes.
That's right.
So when I got back to the city, and like now, the people at the gouge, they be like, yo, I'm telling you, everybody calling about you. We start school that beginning of my senior year, and I remember the athletic director comes, I think it's Mr. Cavallo, he comes to me, and I thought he was joking, I swear to you. He's like, I think I was in the hallway going in the gym to go to practice. He's like, yo, let me talk to you for a minute. I said, what's up? He was like, yo, I just want to let you know that McDonald's called about you today. I'm like, McDonald's what, down the block? I swear to God, that was my response. Like, McDonald's on the block? What you mean McDonald's called for me? He's like, McDonald's called about you today. Where I really didn't believe him. I swear to you, I didn't. And, you know, living in the moment at that time, it went over my head. I could say as a grown man now, like, so many great things have happened to me in certain aspects where, because I'm in the moment, I don't probably appreciate it as much as other people.
Right.
So Coach said that he called too. I'm like, Coach, who called? Hey, I heard you had a good rating from Bob Gibbons and Tom and them. Like, they gave you a good rating. So, you know, they called as you're one of the top players in the tri-state area. I'm like, Coach, I go to Jackson. You know he's going to overlook me for these Catholic school dudes. Because back then, Catholic school got the nod over public school.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And that's what was my concern. So I really wasn't really paying it no mind. And then one day, Coach, in practice, he's like, yo, come here. I'm like, what's up? Like, look. I'm like, for real? Like, you know what I mean? Like, me?
It hits.
It says Paul Ruddock, nominated for McDonald's All-American. I'm like, I got nominated? Like, that's let nobody confuse you, bro. That's 1993. For a kid that didn't have a big name like everybody else, to achieve that was like I said, over my head.
Right.
And during that year, I'm still like, Coach asked me, he said, you want me to put in the papers and tell you about it? I said, Coach, I was a weirdo, I think, at the time. Like, Coach ain't no big thing to me. Like, you know what I mean? Whatever. The people that know. And I wasn't one of these guys that was looking for the, you know what I mean?
Right.
I was really into the competition of it. But looking back now, I should have said, yeah, Coach do this, Coach do that, whatever. Because that's a great accomplishment, man.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And now I can sit there and say, like, I really got it on my wall, and I put up every now and then, because a lot of people didn't know. A lot of people knew, but they didn't know. Like, so I could say that's partly my fault, because I really wasn't into the fame of it. And then I played for a militant black coach that a lot of people didn't like. You know what I mean? Truthfully. You know what I mean? If they knew Coach Granby, they liked him or they hated him, whichever one. So I could honestly say, looking back now, that went over my head. You know what I mean? High school American, top player in the country. You know what I mean? Name ringing bells, averaging 35 a game. Led the New York State in scoring. Me and Tyrone Mack, A division me, B division Tyrone Mack. That's a fact. I can't make that up.
That's right.
I mean, I can't lie about that. That's real facts. So I could honestly say I missed that. You know what I mean? Like, now as a grown man, I can say, yo, when life slows down, a bad motherfucker myself, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, because if you came at me inside out, crossover change, pull up three, boom. Then I might go by you laid up high, floater. Then I might kick it, dunk. I mean, so it was a lot of different parts of my game. I started shooting at the end of my high school year, but before that was breakdown, dish, and whatever. So, yeah, I gotta say now, a grown man. Thank you, Coach Granby, because you allowed that. You definitely allowed that.
No doubt, no doubt. So, finishing up that senior year, and you're looking at all of those letters in that box, right?
Right.
And know you had to kind of make a detour to the junior college scene.
Yes. My fault, too. My fault. Totally my fault, because I had the tools. I didn't apply myself the way I was supposed to. I was, like I said, a lot of things going on at that time for a young kid in my perspective, where I had a father, like I said, but the daily discipline wasn't always there. You know what I mean? Coaching them did what they had to do for me to keep me through, but having that father that understood sports, he wasn't there every day because of where he was at. You know what I mean? So looking back, and I'm not blaming that on nobody, because I think I did great to be my mother's first boy, to really navigate through certain stuff and be successful. I did great. But having that big brother, father figure to say, nah, you don't get to this game, or you don't get here and do this, was probably what I needed. You know what I mean? So I didn't take school too seriously. You know what I mean? I did what I had to do to pass, not to be great. It wasn't until I got to college when I really understood that the tools that I had, and college was easy for me. But in high school, I was, girls and streets and, other stuff was going on in my mind. And people would say then, how you, I remember one of my friends said, you didn't graduate high school? In Jackson High School, it's very rare that males graduate. So dudes that graduated celebrate. Like, yeah, we graduated. I didn't do the other routes. I really got a high school diploma. You know what I mean? So kudos to me for that, right?
Right.
Which is something that you're supposed to do. So think about how the logic of that. But not for nothing, without question, B, like that's surreal.
Yeah, like I could think about a lot of us who was coming up during that time. A lot of us didn't have models. We was like the first ones to go to college and, of our family, and there weren't a lot of male role models outside of our coaches that kind of got us in those situations, especially those of us who came from single-parent households.
Yes.
Right? And if you don't know, you don't know, right? It kind of kick in when those letters go, oh, I can actually go to college from this. Oh, I made McDonald's All-American. Oh, because if we was prepped and we knew, we would have done better. And again, I was one of those guys who just did enough so I could stay eligible. So I know where you're coming from with that.
That's, man, if I could do it all over again, you know what I mean? I actually coached kids because of stuff like that for 10 years to push them to, you know, try to be the best they could be, because we had it, but I probably even didn't respect the coaching that we had, because now after coaching, I realized that shit was for free. These guys gave their free time. That's something like people should be paid for that. Like that's, people got families, bills. To drive you here or to take you there or to just make sure things are done, that takes their time. So now as a grown man, all these things, like I said, have registered to me. Like I remember getting that All-American award, like you said, and I actually, when my brother-in-law just said it to me the other day, maybe a couple months back, he said, you know, Q, I still got your All-American award letter from John Wooten and all them, that letter that you get.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, you still got that? I remember just giving it to him, like, here, take it. And he's like, yo, you sure? They from Canada.
Wow.
So that's how them Canadian kids started playing ball. Just so you know, like my nephews and them came down as little kids and really was like, this what they do in the parks? And went to Canada, and that whole wave came from that.
Wow.
So besides Vince Carter, excuse me, let me not talk blasphemy here, because Vince Carter to Canada was big. But inner city Canada, these guys came down here and saw kids in the park and was like, yo, this what they do? I gave them that letter. Like, here, keep it.
Motivation.
Honestly, it wasn't even that. It was that. And
well, they used it as motivation.
They were little kids in awe of what they saw and what I was doing. But in another sense, it was like, I didn't take it as seriously as I should have. I'm like, here, do your thing, bro. Because, you know, I'm in the moment.
Right.
So I'm sitting there like, man, go ahead, it's just a letter. Now, as a grown man with kids, it's more than just a letter.
Right.
That was the greatest accomplishment a man could have at that level. Technically, right?
Yeah. Listen, they talk now and said that's something easy to get nowadays. Back then, the competition was so tough. If you got one of those, it meant something. So I already know.
You saying I'm happy that you understand that, because dudes don't know what era we came from.
Facts.
Where it was, everybody was nice.
Everybody.
What
4 or
you
5
talking
dudes
about?
on the team who was nice. Not just one dude where everybody came to see. You know, we had our special ones, right? But you look on the multiple teams and the schools that we played against, it was like 4 or 5 guys who probably could have started, been stars somewhere else.
1 to 15, your AAU team was all city players.
Facts.
Or all borough or whatever players.
Facts.
Best players on their teams, because you wasn't picked if you wasn't one of those.
That's right.
So when you see guys running around and dudes passing, like, it wasn't like that. You had to get yours in the game with other great players that really understood the game or not, and you had to play with them. These guys now get 15 points, the All-American. Where? Like, what happened? Like,
Yeah.
I missed something?
Yeah.
I remember guys, was it a kid named Jermaine Smoke
Yep.
from Van Arsdale?
Yep.